Go Dogs.
Thank you, Alton. Thank you so much for bringing greetings on behalf of the President's Office, and thank you for sharing in community with us today on this afternoon. So I wanted to dive right into the program. So you all are in UGA Ready Session 1, Enrollment Essentials. So UGA Ready, to give you all a recap of what you're in, will be 3 different sessions throughout today. The first one is our Enrollment Essentials. The second one will be Academic Opportunities. And then the third one will be our Student Life and Engagement session. And so this first session, we will have visitors from orientation, housing, as well as our visitors in financial aid, to make sure that you all have the essential pieces that you'll need in order to have your students and or you come to the University of Georgia and be ready. So without further ado, I would like to turn this over to our colleague in orientation, Larry Cloud.
Thanks, Dominique. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Dominique said, my name is Larry Cloud. I have the pleasure of serving as the Director of Orientation here at UGA. I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about orientation and what we will do to kind of make sure that you all are prepared to be successful students, leaders, and members among the Bulldog Nation. And so to kind of, the biggest question is, and of course you probably have already heard, is what does this summer look like with orientation in the current situation that we exist in? As you all know, that this summer all of our classes will be provided remotely, and due to this, UGA and the Office of Admissions has decided that new student orientation will also be delivered online. And so we are working on creating and implementing what we're calling our online new student orientation experience. And I think something important for you all to know is that as we create this experience, this mission that you see on the screen is always at the forefront of our mind. We want to make sure that whatever orientation experience that you all have, it really ties into this idea that we are helping our incoming students and their support networks to be able to be the most successful members and students and leaders and families of UGA. That we are helping you all become self-independent and understanding how to self-cultivate your success, how you can begin to create and develop that really important community here at UGA, and allow you and all the family members involved the understanding of the institutional and instructional processes that exist here and the ones that you need to be able to get through to be a successful student here at UGA. And so what I plan to do for the next 10-ish minutes or so is kind of just go over what orientation is going to look like, what the requirements will be for our incoming first-year students, and really how we will use those things to, again, make sure that you have an engaging experience as you begin the transition here to UGA. So really, whether we're in person or whether we're in this new virtual landscape, we want to accomplish pretty much the same things in our orientation experience. So really this summer, these are the things that we want to accomplish as an office and as a program for all of our new students. We want to make sure that you're getting a connection here to UGA, that you're connecting with other incoming students with programs similar as this, that you're connecting with other upperclassmen students as they can be a great advice and mentor for you as you start this process, and that you're really just connecting and understanding the feel of the UGA community. It's so special here, this idea of Bulldog Nation, and we talk a lot about not barking alone. That's something that rings really true here on campus. And so we want to make sure that you're able to kind of begin creating that community this summer in a virtual landscape when it's a little different, of course, when you're not able to step foot on campus. We have a lot of great things to kind of help create that connection. We want to make sure that you learn about campus, that you're learning about campus resources, you're learning about where you can go both this summer and when you get here on campus in the fall, when you have obstacles or you have questions about certain things at UGA. We want to just make sure you understand what makes UGA unique, the opportunities, the experiences, the programs that just make Georgia such a premier institution, and the opportunities that will be at your fingertips once you start here in the fall. And then lastly, we want to make sure that you understand the classroom environments here at UGA. Of course, you're attending our institution to eventually in 4 years to get that degree. And so we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success to be a successful UGA student, to understand how to get advised, how to be a successful student in the classroom, and really all the resources that are tied into that classroom success that exists here at UGA. So our virtual orientation is going to look like this, these 5 delivery methods throughout the summer to, again, really make sure that you're set up to have the smoothest and most effective transition possible in this current landscape. We know it's not going to be the same as a 2-day-long orientation, but we're going to try to do whatever we can to give you all the best experience possible. And so we will do this in a delivery of some online modules, a virtual small group, through some online advising and class registration, an orientation webinar series, and a welcome and back event that will happen in August. And so I'll talk through each of these briefly to kind of talk to you about what they kind of look like as you prepare for orientation. So our online modules are called UGA 101 learning modules. These modules will be a series of modules that will exist online, and students will navigate through them in a certain order. These modules will have a lot of information that will really allow these students to, again, prepare to be successful students and leaders here on this campus. One of the major components within the UGA 101 modules is information on all the academic colleges, schools, and majors that exist here. So we all know that you have already checked an intended major in your application, which is great. We also know that you may have changed your mind or you want to get a different major. This is a great opportunity in these modules to look at the major that you may have already declared, as well as to explore other majors and other colleges that exist here at UGA. We'll also have a lot of information on campus resources, everything from housing and residence life to financial aid to auxiliary services to Greek life to how to get involved. We know that incoming students have tons of questions, not only about the classroom piece, but really just about getting involved here at UGA, about what makes it special. And so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to kind of learn about all those campus resources, as well as to kind of figure out how you can reach out to those resources this summer and also in the fall with any additional questions you may have. And lastly, Georgia is such a special place. As an alum myself, Georgia holds such a special place in my heart, and we want to make sure that you understand why it is such a special place. So that, of course, will be a lot of other UGA knowledge that kind of shows you what makes it special. All the traditions, all the experience and excitement that exists there. We'll talk a lot about things like the arch and the chapel bell. Well, we're going to have a module on what your first football game day may look like, and kind of give you tips and tricks to make sure that you're set up for success to really get the full experience of being a UGA Bulldog. The other requirement for all incoming first-year students is this virtual small group. This virtual small group will be hosted via a Zoom meeting, and it'll be an opportunity for all of our incoming students to connect with other incoming students. We know it's such a special connection that you will have as you all are embarking on this brand new journey together, and we think it's really important that you get to meet other incoming students in this online sense. These small groups will also be led by an upperclassman orientation leader, which will allow you to have somebody who's been here on campus for at least 2 years, and for them to be able to kind of show you the ropes and kind of provide any advice that they have and the things that they've learned in their time here as well. And really the most important part to me about these virtual small groups, it will help start and begin that community building that's so important for our first year student success. You know, when you come here, sometimes going to the dining hall for the first time, or going to an event for the first time, or even going to your first athletic event for the first time can be really daunting if you don't know anyone else. So we really want to try to use these virtual small groups to allow you to create that community and that group that you can begin attending these things once we start classes here back in the fall. And so both of those things are required of our incoming first-year students. So the way that will happen is at the beginning of May, on May the 5th, all incoming first-year students will have the opportunity to register and select the day of their virtual small group. Virtual small groups will start on June the 1st and run all the way through July, the very end of July. And so you will get on your My Status page login and register for your virtual small group on that website. Once you register for that virtual small group, you'll get some more communication, but 2 weeks prior to that virtual small group, you'll actually get access to the UGA 101 learning module. So for example, if you get on there, you sign up for the very first small group on June 1st, 2 weeks prior to that date, there will be a link on your, again, My Status page login that will become live. You'll click that link and then you'll get access to the UGA 101 learning modules 2 weeks prior to your small group. We highly encourage everyone to complete those modules before their small group, as it will just make that small group experience so much stronger and just much more enriching and fulfilling during that time. This is a first come, first served basis. And so if you are someone that just really wants to get their virtual small group done and complete at the very beginning, we recommend you get on our system as soon as you can to register for that space. There are a limited number of spaces per day, but to know that there will be enough spaces for everyone throughout the summer. But to know that once a session is full, that session will no longer appear on the registration site. That will mean that it will be full and you'll have to pick another date. Once you've completed both the UGA 101 learning modules and the virtual small group, you will be your academic advisor will reach out to you to schedule your academic advising appointment. And that appointment is when they will kind of talk to you about the classes you need to take and give you some direction that will then lead into the next piece, which is class registration. So once you complete the modules, you complete the small group, and you are academically advised, you will then, and as long as all your other holds are cleared, you'll be able to register for classes this summer. And so that will be the opportunity for you to choose your fall classes and really kind of figure that piece out and what you want to get involved in class-wise for the upcoming semester. And then lastly, we will have a welcome back event starting in August. We're working with some other offices to kind of figure out what this means, but we know that this virtual connection will be hopefully very strong and will be a start of that connection, but we also know that in-person connection is so important. So we want to make sure that all of our incoming students have a chance to connect with their small groups, to connect with other incoming students, to connect with their orientation leaders, and so will kind of happen at the beginning, sometime at the beginning of the semester in August. We also typically hand out a new student t-shirt with a UGA shield on the front at orientation. Of course, because of the change, we're not able to do that this summer. So at this welcome back event, we will be handing those events out. So make sure you come to the event, grab your free t-shirt. That way you can have your first piece of official UGA swag this upcoming fall. And the last thing we'll be doing is some orientation webinars. Sorry about that, that's my dog. We'll be doing some orientation webinars this summer. These webinars will have multiple tracks where we'll have one that will be family focused. And so focused on the families and the messages that they really need. Financial aid and wellness and other things of that nature. We'll have Sorry about that. I've done many webinars the last 3 weeks, and that's the first time they've actually done that, so that's fun. Oh, and we'll have some transfer focus tracks for those transfer students in the, if there are any of those in the room. And then of course we'll have first year focus tracks. Will be messages and presentations from offices that are really focused on the first year. Another thing we'll have are some class registration webinars. We know that those who are registering for classes, it will be the first time that they're registering. So we'll have an opportunity for you to connect with orientation leaders as well as academic advisors who will be able to provide you with personalized information and direction as you are registering for your classes for the first time. You also will be receiving a lot of emails from us about what this summer will look like. Some of you may have already received some, but if you haven't, you will as soon as you deposit here at UGA. We're going to be sending out a weekly checklist that will start in May, and these weekly checklists will give you to-do items for every week as we're leaning into the beginning of June. Social media is a great way to connect with us. We have our own orientation Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and so that's a great way to engage. But also all 16 of our orientation leaders have their own Instagram account as well. And so you can connect with them and figure out the things that they're involved in, the majors that they have, and really get some really relatable advice from students who are living and breathing UGA on a day-to-day basis. And of course, if you haven't been on our orientation website, that's where most of our updated information is. Last week, our orientation website had a big overhaul, and all the information on there now is very much related and focused on the online orientation track and the shift of delivery mode that we have for this summer. So make sure you check that out. There's to-do lists, there's frequently asked questions, there's lots of directions and guidance that will help incoming students and their family members as we prepare for online orientation. So that's a quick overview. I know that there are a couple of questions, and so I wanted to take this time to answer any questions that you may have about orientation.
Wonderful, and thank you, Larry. We really appreciate it. I have a fur dog of my own, so I understand, and so we're gonna hope that he holds out as well. But thank you for the information. At this time, we are moving to questions and answers. Our graduate assistant, Gabriela Saenz. She will moderate this session for us. But if you would, please enter your questions in the question and answer portion on your Zoom. And for those who are attending via YouTube Live, please also enter your questions there. Gabriela will be looking at both locations and will then voice those questions to Larry so he can answer them for you all. And so at this point, we'll do about 10 minutes of questions.
All right. Well, I guess I can just jump in. So I think looks like one of the questions is, if you're in two colleges, how will that work for orientation for both? And so our orientation covers all colleges. The information will be the same with whatever your major is. The biggest difference will be who you're advised by. Oh, there's Gabriela. Hey, Gabriela.
Hi. Yeah. I just want to say thank you for a great presentation, and we do have a few questions here, so thanks for your patience.
Oh, no worries.
And as far as student IDs, what can students expect?
For sure. So luckily, even before all this online stuff kind of happened, they were already planning on doing this new online delivery of student IDs. And so what will happen is this summer, you all will be able to actually take your own picture on your cell phone. There'll be some parameters considering what the background is, what you're wearing, how much of your body is actually shown. There will be an upload system that will be online. You'll actually be able to send that in, and they will print out their IDs, and they will have it available for all the incoming students once they get back on campus. Luckily, that was already in place, so it was a really easy fix and shift when we went online. And so you'll definitely get a lot more information about that. Information about that will also be on the UGA 101 modules to make sure that you know exactly how to do that for the summer. Terrific.
And does an earlier orientation date mean a better chance for registering for classes?
Yeah, great question. Just like normal, typical orientation, we work with academic colleges and advisors to make sure that we're opening up seats for a lot of those highly sought after classes throughout the summer, to make sure that whether you're the very first small group or you're the very last small group, that there are class availabilities for those classes that you need in that first semester for everyone. Because we don't want to make sure that it's not an unfair process for anybody that's involved. So no matter when you have a small group during the summer, or no matter when you're registering or getting advised, that process will be an even process for everyone involved.
And I can tell students are paying attention because one question asked, what time will students be able to register for the small groups 101 modules?
The virtual small groups, they will open up on May 5th. The time, we don't really release the time just because of the system kind of will dictate that on its own. What will happen is when the system is open, you will get an email to the email that you use on your on your UGA application saying the registration system is live. You can now go on, here's the link type of thing. So just make sure that you are monitoring your email on May the 5th to kind of see when that opens up.
Great. And another question, if students have already committed, can they expect to get information on how to make payments for tuition and whatnot?
I know Mandy is right after me, so she will definitely be a great person to hear that from. Most of that will come from financial aid or from the bursar's office about payment and what those things look like. Oftentimes, your full fees and the full tuition and all those types of things don't actually show up on your student account until after you register for classes, because sometimes the cost of actual coming to UGA depends on how many hours you are registering for. So right now your bursar account may not show the full amount that you owe, but those things will definitely start rolling in after the orientation, after class registration, and those types of things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question, how will orientation work if a student's planning to do freshman college?
For sure, yeah, great question. Freshman college will still have to complete the two main requirements for all incoming new students, the UGA 101 modules and the virtual small group. But what we're doing is encouraging all freshman college students to sign up for one of those first 2 weeks of orientation. Because what will happen is you have to be advised by June the 26th, as the freshman college will be hosting a large class registration around June 29th to make sure that you can get the classes that you need starting for July. And so the freshman college, if you haven't been to their website, they have a lot of updates about what freshman college will look like this summer, including some information on orientation. So make sure that you check out their website. But also the other thing is if they have any additional requirements for you this summer, those will come directly from freshman college. And so same thing with the honors college or the honors program. If you're a part of that too, you're required to do, again, UGA 101 and the virtual small groups. Any other requirements that the honors program has for you will be communicated and managed by the honors program itself. We will make sure that we communicate anything that we get from the honors program, but really they will probably be reaching out to you directly about any other things that they need from you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're definitely going to hear from Honors College later today. So
Yeah.
thank you. So many questions. All right. Do students have to complete TB screening before registering for classes, even if a doctor's office is closed?
Sure. They're definitely, every incoming new student does have what we call an immunization hold on their account. And if that immunization hold is still on your account and hasn't been cleared, you will not be able to register for classes, as that's one of the holds that cannot be lifted until those things are fulfilled. If you're having problem with your doctor or with that TB test, I would say the biggest piece of advice I have is to reach directly out to the University Health Center and the immunizations office, as they can provide you a little bit more direction and maybe some clarity about what that will look like or what you need to do in that case. And they, of course, they understand in the current environment and where we are right now that some of those things may be a little tougher. But I definitely want to make sure that you reach out to them to get the most up-to-date information, and that way I'm not directing you the wrong way. But those things and that immunization hold does have to be lifted for you to be able to register for classes for the fall.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what about summer school? If a student was planning to do UGA in the summer before the fall, what's affected or what's different?
Yeah, so with summer start students, if you are already a summer start student, your admission offer was for the summer, there will be some different requirements. You will have access to the UGA 101 modules a little earlier. That way you can complete them and be done with them, and you can register for classes before classes start on June the 1st. If you're looking to change your enrollment term, you would have to reach out to our email. It's adm-tech@uga.edu. Email them, and they will provide you with some of the resources, the steps to do that, as well as some things to know. I think that's one thing that students have to realize, is that if they decide they want to move from the fall to the summer, that is definitely your own choice, but also to know that there are some things that you have to consider, things such as fees, things such as making sure that you are enrolling for a class, because what happens if you decide to move to summer and you don't enroll in any summer classes, you are just dropped and you lose that admission. So there are a lot of things that we want to make sure students understand before they make that decision about moving to the summer term. So just make sure that you reach out to us, and we will definitely walk you through that process if that's something that students are interested in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What would you say is the first step or the top priority to make sure students can register for classes for the fall?
Sure. I think a big thing is just making sure you know what holds you have, and that you are working towards getting those holds lifted. And so if you go on our website, orientation.uga.edu, on the very top, there's a thing where it says first year students and a first year student to-do list. On that to-do list, it kind of shows you the 3 or 4 main holds that exist on students' accounts as they start their college career here. Things such as verifying their lawful presence, their immunization holds, updating their emergency contacts. Those types of things are really important, and things that students can start doing right now to make sure that those holds are lifted. Because what the worst thing that it's not even the worst thing, but something that could become a problem is that if you have done all these things, you complete the UGA 101 modules, you complete the virtual small group, you get advised and you're ready to go, you're gonna go to register, and all of a sudden there's this hold on your account and you have to wait a couple more days until you can actually do that. So right now in this waiting period, when those modules and the small group is not something you can actually go through at this time, I would definitely say start working on getting those holds cleared up. That way when you're done with those things, you're able to jump right in and register for classes as soon as you can.
And related to that, a student's asked, how do you find out about which holds you have? And I believe it's all through Athena. Is that correct?
It is. That is that, yeah. On Athena, we'll show you all the holds that you have as well. I believe there's some directions on there too, but if you need exact directions on how to do that, again, our website has those things. But yes, Gabriela, you are correct. Athena is where you would find out what holds you currently have on your account.
And another student's asking, how about advisors? Are students assigned advisors based on the modules or based on their college or major?
For sure, yeah. You will be assigned an advisor based on your college. And so what will happen is we have this system that is set up. And once a student completes, again, both the learning modules and the virtual small group, your college that you have declared will get your information saying, Joe student has completed these things. You can now reach out to them. And that's when you will get assigned an advisor, and that advisor will reach out to you either via email or via this platform we have called Sage, where a lot of your advisement appointments and advisement interactions will happen during your college career. And that email and those instructions will kind of say, this is how you sign up for your advising appointment, or this is when your advising appointment is. There are some colleges that will automatically just schedule you for an advising appointment and then give you instructions if that advising appointment doesn't fit your schedule. There will be some that will say, here's how you sign up for your own advising appointment. So there definitely will be a couple of different messages depending on what college you're a part of.
And is there an additional advisor if you're in the honors program?
Yes, the honors program will definitely reach out to you and kind of, again, walk you through that process. As of course, if you're a member of the honors program, there are some additional requirements that you have to complete during the summer. It's taking certain honors classes and so many hours in the GPA. So they will, of course, direct you through that to make sure that you are getting everything that you need as you begin your involvement in the honors program here at UGA.
And I think this is, a question that's on a lot of students' minds, and it's not necessarily a question simply to you. And I think it's more for the University System of Georgia, but the question asks, when will we be able to communicate in person with people on campus after the quarantine?
For sure. Our hope is that we will be back on campus at the beginning of the fall semester. Everything that we've heard from our admins and my boss's bosses and other those people who make those really important decisions is that we are working really hard to make sure that we are prepared and ready to open back up for you all in the fall. If those things change, if those things shift, as we all know, this situation is ever evolving, we will definitely let you all know about that shift and those changes. But right now, we are excited to have you back here in August, and to be able to see you all in person and to greet you properly here the way that we do at UGA.
Thank you. And is it true that you cannot access your UGA email until you've paid your deposit?
That is correct. And once you pay your deposit, you will get an email from our information technology services that will have a link and some direction that you need to take to set up your UGA ID and your UGA mail, as well as some other login and security measures that UGA has in place. And so make sure that as soon as you get that, you do that, because what happens with that link, eventually it expires. And once it expires, going through those steps is a little bit more tedious, as you have to reach out to some people and get some things reset. So make sure if you have that link, do it as soon as you can. That way that link doesn't expire.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. Again, thank you, Larry, for answering these questions. I want to let all of our participants know that you can continue to ask questions in the question and answer section. If Larry if he's available, he can go in and answer those via text for you all as well, or give us the answer. We can do the same. If your questions aren't answered today around orientation, please visit the orientation website and also email them at orientation@uga.edu. So again, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Gabriela. We really do appreciate it. Next up, we will go to Mandy Branch, our wonderful colleague in financial aid. She'll give you a presentation. Feel free to use that question and answer section while she's presenting, as well as those who are on YouTube Live. Feel free to put your questions there as well. So, Mandy.
Thank you. Let me get my screen up. Give me just one moment. So my name's Mandy Branch, and I am the Assistant Director of Outreach and Training for the Office of Student Financial Aid. And I'm here today to tell you how that process works at the University of Georgia. And I want to start off by talking about the cost of attendance for the University of Georgia. So colleges are required to provide students with an estimated cost of attendance that includes both direct costs and indirect costs. So potential direct costs are those costs that you would pay directly to the school, and I have those items starred on this chart. That would be tuition, Student fees, if you're residing in a residence hall, that would be a direct cost to UGA, and our room component is the average cost of our residence hall. And then if you sign up for the meal plan, and we have listed there the 7-day meal plan amount for fall and spring combined, that would also be a direct cost to the University of Georgia. Students are not required to sign up for the meal plan, but if you do choose to sign up for the meal plan, that would be a direct cost to UGA. Books and supplies are an indirect cost. You're not paying UGA for your books and supplies. You're either purchasing them through a bookstore or an online website. For our transportation component, we know that students like to travel during the breaks. So our transportation component is for Georgia residents, a gas mileage amount that you might spend when you're traveling during the breaks. And then for our out-of-state students, we're assuming you're purchasing a plane ticket home, so that's why your amount is a little bit more, but those are not costs you're paying to UGA. And then the final indirect costs are those miscellaneous living expenses. That includes things like clothes, toiletries, your cell phone bill. If you do bring a car on campus, that's part of the miscellaneous living expenses. And if you bring a car on campus, the average cost of a parking permit per month is around $20 to $30 a month. And that would actually be paid directly to the University of Georgia. But the main things that are paid directly to UGA are tuition, student fees, the housing, and then if you sign up for the meal plan, the meal plan. And so these are our costs to attend UGA. If you're wanting to know what the student fees are, you can go to the Bursar and Treasury Services website and it will list out each fee. And then you can click on the word in blue, be it activity or athletic, health, recreation, and it'll give you detailed information about what those student fees pay. But basically the student fees allow you access to things like our health center if you get sick. If you want to work out at the Ramsey Center and stay fit, it allows you access to the Ramsey Center, to both the UGA buses as well as the Athens buses. It helps finance our technology on campus and allows you access to computer labs and things like if your laptop breaks and you need to check out a loaner laptop. All of these student fees help pay for those kind of items. So how to pay for all of these costs in our cost of attendance? Well, one of the best ways is through free money. And the way you can find the free money or the scholarships is by using something called Scholarship Universe. It is a portal where you log in with your MyID and password. And then once you log in, you start creating a profile about yourself. And it starts matching you up with scholarships that match your profile. The easiest way to find this portal is you go to our website and type in the search box Scholarship Universe, and it'll take you to a page that tells you all about Scholarship Universe. Within that page, it'll say click here to access Scholarship Universe. You can click on that, and then it'll take you right there. If you are a Georgia resident and you're wanting assistance paying for your tuition, then you can apply for the Hope or Zell Miller scholarships to help pay tuition by either completing the FAFSA or applying for Hope through GA Futures. We encourage all Georgia residents who are applying for Hope or Zell to apply through the GA Futures site. And the reason for that is if you apply through GA Futures, you apply one time and then the application remains valid for up to 7 years. So you apply once, you don't have to ever worry about applying for Hope or Zell again because your application is going to be valid for up to 7 years. You can also use the FAFSA to apply for Hope or Zell, but keep in mind the FAFSA is only good for 1 year and then it has to be completed again. So the FAFSA does not automatically renew, it's only good for 1 year and then you have to complete it again. To qualify for Hope out of high school, you had to have a 3.0 in your core classes in high school, and you had to have passed at least 4 rigorous courses while in high school. So rigorous courses are AP classes in core subjects, dual enrollment classes in core subjects, and international baccalaureate classes in core subjects. Once you're in college, you have to maintain a 3.0 to maintain your Hope scholarship, and Hope pays a portion of tuition. The amount it pays currently is $256 per credit hour for a maximum payment of $256 times 15 hours. You can take more than 15 hours, but the max Hope will pay is $256 times 15. And we should find out in the month of May what that per credit hour amount is going to be for the 2020-21 year, but currently it pays $256 per credit hour. One thing to keep in mind is here at UGA, tuition is charged at a flat rate. So if you take more than 6 hours during fall or spring semester, you're going to be charged $4,895 as an in-state student. So that's the per semester amount. How much HOPE will cover of that flat rate tuition depends upon your hours of enrollment, because again, HOPE just pays $256 per credit hour. So for example, let's say you decide to sign up for 12 hours. 256 times 12 equals 3,072. So in that case, that's how much HOPE would cover of that 4,895 in flat rate tuition. A student can either receive HOPE or Zell. You can't receive both at the same time. It's a little bit more challenging to qualify for Zell out of high school. If you're a Georgia resident and you're trying to get Zell out of high school, you have to have a 3.7 in your core classes in high school, and you have to have passed 4 rigorous courses while in high school, and you had to have made a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT in one test sitting. So they want to see that you sat down and made that score in one sitting. Or if you were a valedictorian or salutatorian of your high school, you can also qualify for Zell, but you don't have to have the 3.7 in the test scores if you're a valedictorian or salutatorian. You still have to have at least been HOPE eligible. But if you do not meet any of that criteria out of high school, then unfortunately you can't qualify for Zell. You have to initially qualify for it out of high school. So if you don't start off with Zell out of high school, there's not an opportunity to gain it while in college. Once you're in college, you have to maintain a 3.3, and Zell's going to pay 100% of the standard rate tuition. One myth that is out there is students think you have to be enrolled full-time to receive HOPE or Zell. That is not the case. You're not required to be enrolled full-time to receive HOPE or Zell. You're encouraged to enroll full-time, so that way you'll graduate hopefully in 4 years, but for HOPE and Zell purposes, you're not required to be enrolled full-time. If you are a Georgia resident or an out-of-state student, you can apply for federal aid, and the way to do that is through the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. If you plan on participating in freshman college summer experience and you want to be screened for federal aid such as loans and grants for freshman college, please be sure to complete the 2019-20 FAFSA. Most students have completed the 2021 FAFSA already, which screens you for aid starting in the fall of 2020. But if you want to get funding for this summer, you also need to complete the 19-20 FAFSA so that you can get federal aid for this summer. If you want to get aid for this summer from the federal government, so you want to get loans or grants for the summer, you need to make sure that you complete your application no later than June 30th. After June 30th, they will take down the 2019-20 FAFSA and you'll not be able to complete it after that. So if you want to come this summer and you haven't completed that 19-20 FAFSA, go ahead and get that done now. And there are 2 ways to complete it. You can do it through the website, or, let me see if I can get there. Here it goes. Or through the mobile app. It's called the My Student Aid mobile app that you can download onto your phone. Oops. Let me try that again. And the FAFSA screens you for all of these different types of funds: grants, which are free money; work study, which is an on-campus part-time job; federal direct student loans, which are loans in the student's name; and the Parent Plus loan, which is a loan in the parent's name. Now, I do want to stop for just a moment on this slide and focus in upon the work study. So some students ask me, what is work study? It is basically an on-campus part-time job. In order to get work study, you have to complete the FAFSA. You have to indicate on your FAFSA that you're interested in work study. You have to have what is called need based on your FAFSA, and you have to complete the FAFSA early by our priority date of December 15th. If you meet all of that criteria, you may see that you've been offered work study. What will happen is in June, we're going to generate our official award letters where you can accept or decline your work study and accept or decline your loans. If you've been offered work study and you choose to accept it, once you accept it, you'll then get information from our work study coordinator on how to apply for work study jobs. And if you apply for a job and then are hired by that department, you'll work in that job usually around 10 to 20 hours a week and get a paycheck every 2 weeks to use for living expenses. So work study funds do have to be earned. They are not applied to your account balance. It's basically a part-time job. The difference being in that the Department of Education is paying a portion of your hourly wage as opposed to UGA paying all of your hourly wage. So with work study funds, the Department of Education pays part of your hourly wage and UGA pays the other part. For non-work study jobs on campus, UGA pays all of your hourly wage. There are also non-work study jobs on campus, so if you're not awarded work study, don't worry, you can still work on campus, and you can find out about those jobs through the Career Center at UGA. If you want to borrow a loan for college, we encourage you to use the federal loans over private loans. And the reason for that is the federal loans do not require a cosigner for the student loans. So if you're a student and you want to borrow a federal loan, you complete your FAFSA, and then as long as you're degree seeking and enrolled in at least 6 hours, you're able to get the loan. The max you can get as a first-year student is $5,500 for the year as a dependent, as a sophomore, $6,500, juniors and seniors, $7,500, and the interest rate is typically between 4% and 5%. If you're not sure whether or not you've been awarded aid, if you have a FAFSA on file, or you've applied for HOPE or Zell through GA Futures, or done both, you should have an award in Athena. Athena is that student portal where you can go to eventually register for classes, to view your financial aid, to see your student account charges eventually. A lot of information is housed in Athena. If you're not sure how to navigate Athena, if you go to our website to the quick link section, we have an Access Award in Athena PDF that shows you step-by-step how to view your award in Athena. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. And if you have any questions, this is our contact information. So we are not open for in-person visits currently, but we are still staffing our phones. We are still responding to emails. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can call our office or send us an email, and we are going to work feverishly to respond to your phone calls and to respond to your emails. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Branch. Hi.
Hi.
We've got a few questions.
Sure.
So what if a student says they only need 20 more points for Zell, but they can't take the SAT? What can they do? Are you aware of how they maybe can appeal or ask about their status for Zell?
That information is currently being reviewed. And so the Georgia Student Finance Commission, who is the entity who manages the HOPE and Zell Miller scholarship programs, they are currently reviewing that issue because they know that there are students who were signed up to take those tests, but those tests are no longer available due to COVID-19. Any updates regarding that will be posted to the GA Futures site. So I encourage students to check the GA Futures site to see if there are any updates about test scores and qualifying for Zell, because those updates would come through the Georgia Student Finance Commission and the GA Futures site.
Thank you. And a student also asks, can you explain the miscellaneous living expenses item again?
Sure. So colleges are required to provide students with an estimate of all costs you might encounter while in college, both the direct costs and indirect costs. So that way, if you want to pursue funding for those items, you can. But also it helps eliminate overborrowing because, for example, if a student tries to apply for a private loan and they already have aid up to the school's cost of attendance, they're not going to be allowed to get that private loan. Because you're able to pursue funding for all of those items, we want to make sure that you have a good estimate of what those miscellaneous expenses are and they are literally miscellaneous expenses. So they include things like how much you might spend in clothing for the academic year, how much you might spend in toiletries and prescriptions and your cell phone bill and your laundry detergent. So it's literally those miscellaneous things that pop up throughout the semester. We want to give you an idea of how much you might need in money for those miscellaneous things. So that way, if you want to pursue funding for those items, you can do so.
Thank you. Does the Pell Grant cover books and/or room and board?
That's a great question. So if a student qualifies for the Pell Grant, what'll happen is when a student charges for fall post, usually after July 1st, then sometime not long after that, the student's financial aid, including Pell, will apply towards those charges. So whatever financial aid the student has, except for work study, because work study has to be earned, will be applied towards the tuition, the fees. If you've signed up for a residence hall, those funds will apply to the residence hall. If you signed up for the meal plan, it'll apply to the meal plan. If you have funds over and above what you have to pay to UGA, then those funds will be refunded to you to use for books, for other things, typically about 5 days prior to the start of the semester. And we encourage students in the month of July to, if you know you're going to be getting money above and beyond what you owe to UGA, to set up direct deposit through your student account in Athena. So that way, if you have excess funds, they can get to you quickly when they disperse those funds about 5 days prior to the start of classes.
Thank you. And do you know if a student is planning to do freshman college, should they complete the 2019-2020 FAFSA?
That's a great question. Yes. So if you are planning on participating in freshman college, then you do need to complete the 1920 FAFSA if you wish to be screened for grants and loans for freshman college. The last date to complete that application is June 30th. Do not wait until June 30th to complete the application. Go ahead and get it done now. So that way, if we get your 1920 FAFSA and we need additional documentation, you have plenty of time to get that into us before that freshman college session starts.
And if a student did not check off that they wanted to do work study on the FAFSA, can they go back into their FAFSA and request work study now?
That's a great question also. These are a lot of great questions. Yes, you can. So if you did not check yes to that question on the FAFSA, if you said no or don't know, what you'll need to do is log back into the FAFSA. There should be an option to make corrections. You'll click on make corrections, and then you'll find the work study question. It should be towards the front of the FAFSA. Update your answer. Once you've updated your answer, you are not finished. You need to sign and resubmit it. So once you update that answer, you then need to go to the sign and submit button and sign and resubmit your FAFSA. So that way that update will process. If you do not do that, then that update will never process and we will not know that you changed your answer.
And in terms of work study, if a student does not qualify the first semester, but does qualify, is it possible to qualify for work study during the spring semester, so to say, or a different semester?
Sure, so that's a great question too. So if a student does not qualify for work study their freshman year, their sophomore year is a new year, a new FAFSA, so they can try again then. One thing students can do is once they get their official awards in June, if they do not qualify for work study, if it's not listed there at that time, they can contact our office, see whether or not they qualify based on having what is called need, and also indicating on their FAFSA that they qualify for work study. And if they do meet the criteria, but we're just out of funds at that time, we can put the student's name on a work study wait list. So that way, if jobs do become available later on in the semester or even into spring semester, we can reach out to the student and try to let them know, hey, we've awarded you work study, now some funding has become available, go apply for these jobs.
Is there a difference in how federal work study money can be used versus like federal Pell Grant money can be used or counted?
Yes, so federal work study is a job. You have to earn those funds. Whereas Pell Grant is a grant that is free money. And so if you qualify for Pell, it's going to be based on how many hours you're enrolled. So typically with Pell, if you're enrolled in 12 or more hours, you get the full amount of Pell listed. If you enroll in 9 to 11, you get 3/4, 6 to 8, 1/2, and then 1 to 5, 1/4. And then basically the Pell just gets automatically applied to your balance. Once your balance is paid, if you have excess funds, those funds are dispersed to you. Work study, you have to be enrolled in at least 6 hours to participate in work study, and you have to earn those funds. And you have a maximum amount listed on your award of how much you can possibly earn for the semester. Typically, the maximum you can earn in work study for the semester is about $2,000 a semester, and it's up to you to work enough hours to earn those funds. But work study, you have to earn. Pell Grant is free money that you get as long as you have a Pell qualifying EFC from your FAFSA, and it's also based on how many hours you're taking.
And I believe this is our final question. Only because we're running out of time, we do have more questions. Can the Zell Miller Scholarship be applied to the freshman summer college experience?
Yes. So the freshman college summer experience, you can use for Zell for that. One thing I did want to note is that sometimes we may not find out about a student's Zell eligibility until late in the summer. And so if freshman college rolls around and you've been awarded the Hope Scholarship, which does not cover all of your tuition, and you have to pay that difference, if later on during the semester we find out that you qualify for Zell, we'll go in and remove the Hope, replace it with Zell, and then you would get refunded that money that Zell would have paid had you had that initially. We get updates from the state throughout the months of June and July letting us know, okay, the student did initially qualify for Hope, but now they're qualifying for Zell. And as we get those updates, we update the student's award. So if you believe you qualify for Zell and freshman college rolls around and you've just been awarded Hope, it may be that you get a refund later on, have to pay a little bit out of pocket for what Hope doesn't cover until that Zell award comes through. But hopefully it'll come through before freshman college starts.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Gabriela, again. I appreciate it. Mandy, we do have more questions. If you have some availability, it would be great. You could go into the question and answer function on the Zoom and to answer some of those questions. And we thank you for helping us today.
No problem.
Thank you. Our next presentation will be from University Housing. Our colleague, Kathryn Hall, will present, and so we would like to welcome her at this time.
Did that work? Can you see the presentation?
You're good.
Great. Good afternoon and greetings from the University Housing here at University of Georgia. Welcome and congratulations on becoming a University Georgia Bulldog. We want to start off by sharing our University Housing mission with you. University Housing provides comfortable, affordable, and secure on-campus options in our residential communities where the academic success and personal growth of our residents are encouraged and supported. We like to share this because you'll find out that all of the student workers you run into, all of our professional staff knows this mission, and they're all committed to making sure that you feel, as our students feel, safe and supported. There we go. We do have a first-year live-on requirement. That means all of our first-year students need to live in housing. There are some exceptions to that, but one reason for that live-on requirement is that our studies show that students who live with us on campus earn higher GPAs, they graduate sooner, They're more involved in activities on campus, and they report that they have a higher satisfaction with their college career than those that live off campus. Living on campus means that the students immediately find a place where you have an academic and you have personal support and everything you need to hopefully succeed while you're here at the university. We do allow some exceptions to that live-on requirement. Students that believe they're eligible for an exemption need to log into the doghouse on our online housing portal and apply for those exemptions. Those are students who are going to reach 21 before their first day here, and students that are residing in these counties that are contiguous to Clark County. Students get the opportunity to choose housing on the date that they register for housing and pay their $35 housing fee. Registration for housing doesn't commit you to the university. It just gives us a way to prioritize when people can choose for themselves their housing place. So students will self-select that housing and appointment based on when they register and pay that fee. We encourage students to register early as soon as they're admitted to make sure they have the best chance for getting the type of housing they want in the building location that they're interested in. So assignments, our assignments at this point, you need to search for and designate roommates in May in our doghouse. So you will go to the housing website. You can do research at housing.uga.edu about our room types, the amenities, and the room rates. All of that is online. Toward the end of May, we will send out an email to your UGA email address with an appointment time during which the students can log into the doghouse and choose a space. And then they can also at that time pull in any roommates that they already want to room with, have decided to room with at that time. Living on campus. Just know that students want to know what it's like to live on campus, to live with a roommate, want to know about clubs and activities, and we have a really great resource for that for students that live on campus, and we call it the Dog Vlog. So students can search on YouTube and find the Dog Vlog, and it has nearly 100 videos created by our residents themselves to showcase their on-campus living experience. They have tours, classes, clubs, dining halls, roommates, decorating. We usually have a decorating contest in the fall. So the Dog Vlog is a great resource to get a glimpse of what life is like here at UGA. 1,505 events and programs were offered last year in university housing. And this is really exciting because our students are real excited to find some new programs, some different programs where they can go and meet people. And these are activities that are planned by our student staff and our hall councils and our Residence Hall Association, which represents all of our over 8,000 residents in university housing. So student staff members, they offer some of these programs. We have resident assistants, and they live with our residents. They're trained to assist them with concerns and problems and issues, and they help also maintain an environment that is academically supported for our students, and they try to direct our students to resources that can help them and better their experience here at UGA. Similarly, we have some class advocates, and these class advocates engage with residents that could potentially feel marginalized on campus. They offer a variety of programs that have a multicultural focus, And both the resident assistants and our class advocates live on the floors in our halls with our students, so they're readily accessible to them. Similarly, we want to make sure while you're living with us that you feel secure and supported in that way. And so, like I said, we have students on duty, and they are on duty at our 24-hour desk. We always have an RA on duty each evening, and we have a professional staff member on duty each evening. Access to our residence halls is with your UGA ID card, and then you choose a PIN. So you use the card, and then you also put the PIN number in. So that's an added security for you. And then we have a security staff that are on duty from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. each evening. So we also have security cameras in our common areas and in our stairwells. So you can see we really want you to feel like this is your home when you're with us. So move in. Move in this year is August 16th. Greek recruitment participants as registered with the Greek Life Office can move in August 15th. All move-in times are staggered by building, and information about choosing this time, because you'll go online and choose the time, that's going to be sent out to you in your UGA email in June. So it's an exciting time for us. We call Move In Hunker Down with Housing, because we're very excited to have you all come and join us on campus. Thank you, and we'll entertain questions now.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. And we have a few questions. So in terms of when students hear that they have been assigned a dorm, how soon is payment due? Do you know?
The payment dates would be on our website. Those are usually due in August at the beginning, right before they move in. And it depends on the agreement they've made, but those dates are in there with the rates on the website.
Thank you. And if a student has already been in contact with the DRC and that information has been sent to housing to request accommodations, how will they find out which dorms meet accommodations request, or which dorms they would qualify for?
That information is also on the housing website. We have several of our areas that do meet those accommodation needs, particularly East Campus Village, and particularly in Russell Hall that is newly renovated. Brumby, of course, that is coming back online for fall after being renovated. And so finding those accommodations are not difficult at all. And so if that information has already gone to our housing office, they can contact our housing office, because Kimberly Ellis in that office makes sure that those accommodations are met for the students.
Thank you. And the student is asking, they were not able to tour the dorms, and they're asking, can they tour the dorms virtually to see like access to—
Excellent question. I'm so glad they asked that. You can go online, and there is a 360-degree view of touring the different residence halls. So if you go to the housing.uga.edu, you can get that 360-degree video and tour the residence halls online.
Terrific. And students noting that they're interested in Brumby, but they're not able to see the cost of Brumby. Will that be posted soon on the website?
That should be posted by that May 1st date. So hopefully that should be posted. We have been, of course, having to close our halls. So all of our timelines are a little bit slower than they would just because we were closing the halls early. So, but that should be up for that May 1st date when they all start rushing in there.
Thank you. And if a student does not yet have a roommate, will they be assigned a roommate by a certain date?
Well, right now, if once that May 1st deadline is over, in May, what we encourage them to do is to go on the doghouse, where they can also find some information from other people, and maybe they can find a match on the doghouse before they are assigned a roommate. So usually that's something that happens, and students will go in and look at their information and share a little bit of the information, and hopefully be able to match with a roommate on their own.
So then the last step is for housing to actually match students.
That's the last step. And that's usually not done until early July, because we are allowing them to make those matches and things like that and find people they're interested in themselves. Depending on how that works, usually that's something that has occurred at orientation. So I don't know how that will work on the online orientation. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you. And a student is explaining they've completed their housing registration, but they don't see an option to actually pick their dorm. Is this an option when they complete?
It will be an option in May.
Okay, thank you.
After that May 1st deadline, then that becomes one of those options. So we're encouraging them to go on that doghouse early in May, and they will be able to start doing that.
We have another
And
student.
I was just going to say, if anyone has any questions, they can still go to the 706-542-1421, and someone will be there to answer their questions, or they can email them in on the website. And we're still answering questions and answering phones and emailing students. And if we get a question that we can't answer, we ship it over to the appropriate person, so the student will always get an email back if they have questions.
Thank you. And from the YouTube channel, I see a question from a student asking if you could explain what are the different types of housing? What are the different types of dorm?
Well, we have what we call our traditional housing, which is a common bathroom with 2 students sharing the bedroom unit. We also have a suite style where you may have 4 students or 6 students with 2 or 3 bedrooms and a common bathroom. And then we do have some rooms where 2 students share a room and there's a private bath there. And then in East Campus Village, we have kind of apartment style options.
Thank you. And for those students who are required to stay in Myers Hall, how do you guarantee that placement, or how does that work?
Those placements are reserved. And so we get an idea of how many people are in that particular program and that may be signing up. And they will get information that tells them you have to sign up by a certain date to guarantee a space in that particular area. And that's how that's done.
Thank you. And are pets allowed in the residence hall?
The only pet allowed is a fish in one aquarium. So, and it can't be over 20 pounds in the aquarium, rather not the fish. But it has to be something that swims underwater, and that's the only animal that's allowed by our students.
I understand. Thank you. And if a student is planning to attend freshman college, and if they are assigned a specific dorm, can that dorm change for the fall?
That I do not know. I doubt it, because at this point, our freshman college was going to be in Russell Hall. And so those spaces were already set aside. So I imagine they will still have those, can still get those same assignments, even though freshman college is not going to be held on campus.
Okay.
So, and if they want that specific question answered a little better, then they can go to the housing website and just shoot us a little email, and the people in assignments can answer that a little better for them.
Thank you. And when are students allowed to apply to become an RA?
The first year students can put in an application starting the first Monday of November. And those are usually due the day before commencement in December. And those would be for 2021, 2022. And so we'll do selection in February of 2021 for the fall.
Thank you. And what are the perks with being an RA?
The perks, getting to work in wonderful university housing, but of course also our students get a monthly stipend. They receive a housing meal plan, it's a partial plan, and they receive their housing.
Thank you. And are freshmen limited to which dorms they can live in?
We do have specific spaces that they set aside for our first year students, and that's simply because our returning students have already signed up for next year. And so the majority of our first year students are usually living in, of course, Brumby, Creswell, and Russell, our high rises. There are some in the Hill community. There's the honors group that is in Myers. If they're in the Franklin College, they're going to be in Rutherford. And so those are primarily the spaces they're going to be in. If they're athletes, they will be out at East Campus Village.
Thank you. And a student has asked, are there practice rooms in the dorms? And I'm assuming maybe for students who have musical instruments or are in music majors and whatnot.
We do not have practice rooms in the residence halls, but they have a lot of beautiful practice rooms over in the Performing Arts Complex. So.
And is there a floor plan posted for Brumby on the website?
There is a floor plan posted for every room that they're available to sign up for. So when they go on the housing website, they click about the rooms, they can click the area they're looking at, they can click specific rooms and look at the layout of any room we have.
Thank you. Are the double rooms with bathrooms the only ADA rooms compliant in Brumby? This is a tricky question. I apologize.
It is a tricky question, especially since we don't have access yet. It's still in the construction mode.
There's, as you stated earlier, there's several dorms that have ADA compliant rooms, correct?
There are. And again, I would suggest to get more specific information if they call the 706-542-1421, and they can ask about information about the ADA rooms. I suspect that the assignments office at this point does have some information about, because Brumby's almost finished the layout in Brumby, but there are also some in Russell. As I said, there are some in East Campus Village. There's several, I think Myers also has some. So we have several places with the ADA compliant rooms.
And I understand, a student explains they understand a refrigerator microwave unit is available in Russell. Is the same option available in other dorms?
It is only available in Russell.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If a student is doing freshman college, can a roommate be someone who is not in the program? Not in freshman.
This year, the answer might be yes. I'm not exactly sure. So I would email that to the housing@uga.edu because, of course, since freshman college is not taking place in university housing this year, it may be different as to how they're setting that out. So I would really direct that question to housing@uga.edu.
Thank you. And are the appointments for housing decided by credit hours, or is it by, who registered for housing first? come, first serve?
For first year students, it's going to be on, depending on who registers and pays that $35 fee. Now, for subsequent years, as they are sophomores and juniors and that kind of thing, and is signing up, then credit hours come into play. But for first years, it's based on when they sign up and get that money in.
And a student says, this is kind of a silly question. Are students allowed to have 3D printers in their dorm rooms?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would say it might matter how big they are and how much electricity they take. And I am not familiar with that.
You know, as a former engineering student myself, I would always go to the engineering building because we had access to 3D printers. But I would assume as long as they fit, they will. But
and I have no idea. What I would suggest to that student is that they email me at kchall@uga.edu. And I'm going to check with our associate director. We've been making policies, and that's not something at this point we've ever thought about or considered, but we will certainly check on that, and I'll get them an answer for them.
Terrific. And I think we have run out of time. There are more questions, so we'll get them to you.
Okay.
But thank you very much today. And thank you to all the students for your questions.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to continue to help students. Thank you.
We enjoyed talking with you. Bye-bye.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you. So for all of my attendees at this time, we are in a break. At 2:45, we will resume with our next session, academic opportunities, where students and families and parents will be able to hear from our Peach State Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation Program, our Center for Undergraduate Research and Opportunities, as well as our honors program and our Division of Academic Enhancement. So we look forward to engaging with you all shortly. See you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to UGA Ready Session 2. We're going to give participants some time to enter into the space, and so we'll be right with you shortly.